Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living in Montreal. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So in today's day of training, we are going to be starting off at the Mile X location of Block Shop, and we're coming here for a very specific reason. Like I've said in the past, in some of the most recent episodes that we've been having at Block Shop, I've been really in a mood to just chase Block Shop white tapes specifically, and even more specifically, the V13 grade of Block Shop white tape. Because a lot of the white tapes that we've been doing recently at Block Shop have been the lower grade range at V12, and the white tapes at Block Shop are either 12 or 13. And I think I've only ever done one V13 at Block Shop that I can remember actually. So anyway, the point is there is a V13 here at this location of Block Shop, and I've been itching to come and try it. So that was the inspiration for Mile X today. And I'll also quickly note, I actually adjusted the program a little bit. I had originally scheduled some comp simulations for this phase of the program, which is phase 2. These are weeks 3 and 4 of the program in its entirety. And I realized it was a bit of a mistake to schedule some comp simulations because I'm in a bit more of a building phase than I realized when I was writing the program. And I expected that I would be maybe having a bit more performance on my side. I should say I was expecting to have more consistent performance on my side during this point in the program, but my body is still getting really sore from training sessions, and since it's pretty heavy duty training we're doing with all the campusing and the workouts, basically my sessions are fluctuating a lot. Some sessions I'll have a really, really good feeling session, and some I'll have a really, really bad feeling session. And there's also even just a lot of nuance in how I'm feeling from session to session. And I was kind of talking about this in a recent episode as well. And the reason it's not so good to schedule in some comp simulations when I'm feeling like this is because it's better to do comp simulations when we're really tapering, feeling fresh in every single session, and we have consistent performances, and we can actually practice the performance element of climbing, which is the whole point of a comp simulation. So anyway, the point is, recently I've been noticing my sessions have been like hot and cold, and I don't want to schedule some comp sims in the program and then catch one of those sessions on a bad day, because my ultimate pet peeve is to do a comp simulation while I'm feeling bad. It's just not a good experience. It's not actually good practice. And so I basically switched the few comp simulations that we had on the program for just regular sessions of bouldering. And so, yeah, I just say that to say we were originally going to do a comp sim today, but we're just bouldering instead. And it worked out too, because I can't really do a comp simulation on the V13 I want to get on today. And so it allows me to actually try the boulder, which is quite nice. And then let's tune into this V10 really quick. So if you'll notice on my first attempt, I dropped the second move, but check out the way I'm going to grab this left-hand start hold. It is maybe a bit hard to notice, but I'm doing a twisted thumb grip. So this has been a previous tip of the day and one of my favorite techniques. A lot of times when you have a thumb catch that's super close to the ridge or like the edge of a volume, it can be kind of awkward to pinch normally. So what you want to do is you want to fold your thumb across, and it basically turns into a better gripping position. And it made that first move feel much, much better. And I'll also link whatever episode I had the twisted thumb grip as the tip of the day in the description below if you want some more information on that grip type. It's actually really a game changer in a lot of scenarios. And then here's another fun thing that we have to tune into. So it was literally our most recent session at Mile X. I had a V11 that I got to like the last move of on my first try, and I just chuffed it. I did something stupid and blew the flash, and that made me think and realize I've never actually flashed a Block Shop V11, and I've done a lot on my second try, maybe like 4 or 5. And so anyway, I now realize that I had a goal that I wanted to accomplish soon, which was to flash a Block Shop V11, and we finally did it today. And I think this 11 wasn't necessarily that soft. I think it suited my style a lot, and the last move was like real hard. That was super committing. So I'm happy that I finally got a flash of a Block Shop V11 that I don't think was like a gimme V11 by any means. So we accomplished a pretty fun goal today. And now, speaking of Block Shop goals, here is the boulder that inspired the session at this gym today. So this one is white tape and it is graded V13. This is as hard as boulders at Block Shop get in terms of the grading and the tag. And yeah, when I was looking at this one, I actually really couldn't get a gauge on how hard it was. Like, obviously it says 13, but I always like to think that I can somehow find a way to overpower whatever V grade they put on a boulder. And I always try to come up with a judgment on my own of how hard I think the boulder actually is. And I had a pretty good feeling about this one, actually. You'll notice I'm working it from the top down. That's just because it's quite a long boulder. And if I put too many tries from the ground on right away, I might get really pumped. Also, this was my bad here. I thought that this person was getting on the red boulder, not the white. So that one was on me, that little collision course that was happening. So I had to jump off, but it was okay. I was just trying the middle sequence anyway. But yeah, at this point, I've linked like a few of the middle moves together, and I did the top sequence on my first go. And what I quickly realized about this boulder was that it actually didn't have too many super hard individual moves. All of the moves felt really doable. I don't actually know if I fell on any of the individual moves. I guess I'm falling on this move here, which would be the hardest move. This match of this undercling volume. There's no jib on the volume, so it's kind of in cut, but it's definitely like a really powerful deadlift position. So matching that hold would be the crux. But what I later realized, in fact, it might be on the next try, or maybe it's right here. I realized that I don't realize it yet, but eventually I realized I don't actually need to match the hold, and I can just power up to that left-hand sloper. And not only is that easier than trying to match it, but it also saves energy, which is important for such a long boulder. So anyway, maybe I was like reinventing the sequence without knowing it, and that's why I didn't find like an obvious crux. Like, there's definitely a whole lot of ways you could try this beginning sequence. So maybe I found a way to eliminate the crux. But anyway, I was quite motivated because there was no obvious crux. And basically, the way to the top of this boulder was just going to be about efficiency, smart climbing, breathing, and just a good flow. And that's like a really solid strength of mine. I am a super efficient climber, so this boulder ended up really being in my wheelhouse, and I was psyched to send what is, I think, my second of all time, like Block Shop V13. Now, whether or not that one was actually like a true Block Shop V13, I'm not super sure about. It was really my style, like I was just saying, so it could be, but I've definitely climbed a good handful of Block Shop V12s that felt much harder than that. And I did that one obviously relatively fast too. So it's cool to do the Block Shop boulder that has a V13 tag on it, but that is maybe up for debate of how true of a Block Shop V13 is, because the setters here are really good at keeping their standards of V13 quite high. And they're often at my absolute physical limit of what I can actually climb. And that orange boulder wasn't. So I don't know. But even if it was a 12, it was definitely a hard 12. And while I got a quick send of it, it was definitely hard, and I was really fighting on that attempt too. And I was feeling strong today as well. And it's also very evident that I'm feeling strong today because after doing a very powerful, tiring boulder of that orange one, here we are on another white tape. And yeah, I haven't been psyched on the looks of some of the previous white tapes in the darkroom just because they're so out of the realm of what my style is, like really crimpy body tension based movements, which is the whole idea of the darkroom, right? It's supposed to be outdoorsy style, but I just know how badly I'm going to perform on those style of boulders that I haven't been trying them in this room recently. But this one actually looked like much more in the realm of my style. And I'd say this one was actually very much my style. We have some crimpy moves, but it's not necessarily super body tension based because the footholds we're standing on are pretty good. And it's just about crimping hard, bearing down, and finding some key shoulder positions, which is definitely a strength of mine. And check this out. We're getting 2 white tape sends in one day. Very crazy. I don't know if I've actually... No, I think I have done it once before, but it's a very rare occasion that I send 2 white tapes in a day, let alone in a session. And yeah, like I said, I was feeling really strong this morning, and I think that 12 was also pretty legit. I don't think it was necessarily too soft. It just suited my style really well. And yeah, both of those white tapes were absolute banger boulders as well. Like super fun movements, super fun climbs. And I enjoyed that purple one especially as well. It was like outdoorsy style, but just indoorsy style enough that I wanted to climb on it. So yeah, fun times working hard boulders at Block Shop. And usually what I do is I try to go to one gym per day, because oftentimes if I try to plan like 2 different sessions at 2 different gyms in one day of training, it makes me try to do too much in one session, get carried away and lose a lot of skin, just get out of control. It doesn't allow me to focus super well on the boulders I'm trying because I'm trying to cram in a bunch of stuff into one session because I know I'm going to another gym later. So anyway, the point is I plan to do 2 sessions at Block Shop Milex today, but I sent a bunch of stuff, and some of the other sets I'd already climbed on before. There was one more white tape up in the gym. It was another 13 in the darkroom that looked absolutely cooked. Like that one looks like proper, like real hard. But that would be like the only boulder that I would try. So I actually decided to make the exception to my rule that I usually try to follow to keep me in check with my boulder sessions. And we are at a different gym in the same day. So this is the Mile End location of Allez Up. So we were just at Block Shop Mile X, and now we're at Allez Up Mile End. And you'd think they were the same place, but they're actually like 2 different little areas of the city. And yeah, these gyms are like not even 10 minutes apart. So it was really nice. It didn't actually really feel like we traveled very far to get to a different gym. And yeah, it's actually been a little while since we sessioned at Allez Up Mile End, but they got a lot of great boulders here, and they had a lot of new ones too, since we haven't sessioned here a whole lot. So yeah, it was nice too. The boulders up in the gym here looked super comp style and not like too powerful and intense on my grip, which was really good because of course we had a really good feeling session in the morning and did some really epic hard boulders. And so that took a lot of my like really powerful strength out of my system, and my grip was a bit tired for the session. I did have a lot of energy though, so it was a good combination for comp style boulders. No grip strength and energy is pretty much the name of the game when it comes to comp style bouldering these days. So yeah, like on a boulder like that black one, we're just jumping around on slopey jugs, so I don't need to be too fresh for that kind of stuff. I just need like the power and the energy to bounce around. Now that being said, this boulder here that we're gonna try is one of the few ones that's gonna like really require me to grab a hold really hard. And this boulder was like, when I was looking at it, I thought, okay, this one's either going to be kind of or really, really epic. And so what I mean by that is I thought that I might be able to just static the first move to the sloper and not have to do a dyno or a press move. But I slowly realized what the sequence on this first move was going to be, and man, is it sick. So check out this dyno. A super, super cool float move. You have to hit these two holds like perfectly and control like this really intense helicopter spin. And the left-hand sloper is just barely good enough to have you hold this position. And yeah, like this right-hand crimp is the hold that I am referring to about having to grip really hard. It's like almost a one-arm swing that we're taking here with a bit of support from our left. And this boulder turned out to be like very, very epic. And then the even cooler part is when we move up to this second last hold crimp, the left hand kind of naturally falls off, and it's this really cool sequence. And just like a very epic bowler packed into like 3 moves. So shout out to whoever set that one. That one was like really, really sick, really, really fun. And that one was like, maybe if it had one more move or one more kind of hard move at the end, that would just be like a men's World Cup qualifying boulder. Maybe if like actually the start holds weren't jugs and they were crimps, yeah, that move would be like a very World Cup style move. So that was fun to stick like a move like that. That felt like it could be right out of the World Cup. Because like I've been talking about recently, I still have this World Cup bug in my mind a lot of the times while we're having our boulder sessions recently. And I'm still kind of nitpicking myself a little bit, saying, okay, you know, am I feeling like I'm really World Cup ready? Are these moves I'm doing too easy? And am I getting like a false sense of confidence? But recently, I think I've been psyching myself up, and it's been good. And I've been doing some moves that I've been satisfied with, and I'm thinking that I am in as good of World Cup shape as I'm going to be, and I definitely want to put it to the test. But anyway, check out this boulder really quick. I'm going to try and campus it. So I'm not trying the first move because it would be too hard. So from one move in, I'm trying to campus this white tape. So I've actually already climbed this boulder before, and we did it for our like 10K special vid. And this white tape is definitely a bit of a softie, and because I've climbed it with feet before. And so I wanted to see if I could campus it. And I almost went from one move in, actually. That was a fun little challenge. But yeah, good boulders at Mile End so far. And in particular, when I have been coming to this gym recently, sometimes to watch Maddie, or we had like one session as well recently that I think didn't make it onto video for some reason. But anyway, they've been having some really good slabs up on this wall recently. Like really good, hard, like proper slabs. There's actually a white tape slab that me and Maddie were trying, but it was on a day that I wasn't filming. And it was like crazy. I couldn't do like half the moves on it, but it was a really good one. So anyway, here's another good example of a really good slab that I'm getting a very clutch flash of, I think, actually. That was like a really satisfying flash. I thought I climbed that boulder really well, and it was really well set. And then also the last move of that boulder will feature today's tip of the day. And if you missed the last episode, I mentioned how I'm going to start trying something new and putting the tip of the days at the end of the episode. So stay tuned for that at the end, and we'll talk about something I was focusing on for the last move of that boulder to really help me out. But anyway, as you can see, I'm having a very fantastic day of training today. And I think we've been putting down all of the boulders that we've been trying. It's pretty sick. That being said, I didn't try the hardest boulder at Block Shot Mile X. There was another V13, like I was saying, that looked super, super hard, and I probably would not have sent that. So it's kind of like a fake all send day in a sense. But anyway, and I didn't do the campus of the white tape either, so yeah, it doesn't count. But anyway, check out this boulder. This is another white tape up, and this one was definitely not soft. This one felt like a pretty legit white tape. and I finally make it up to these last couple pinches, and I like feel like I cannot move at all to come into these couple of intermediate holds, the last couple pinches before the finish. And you see I had to try and jump for the end jug. And yeah, I think if the end jug was a little further, I would have to obviously use these last few pinches, and it would be like a really hard boulder, I think. And this one would have taken a lot more work. But on this attempt here, I adjust my right foot to give me a little more push, and then I'm able to push myself all the way up to the finished jug and get a lucky cheat send of this boulder, you could say. And yeah, if that jug was a little higher, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would have to like really fight to do a couple more pinch moves. But yeah, that was a fun one. So yeah, that wrapped up like a really epic day of training. I was on a nice hot streak, got some really solid sends in. I was feeling strong and I was moving well. So that was really fun. And I think it was also because of that mini like 2 days of rest sort of thing that we took recently. That was like the exact bit of refreshing and refueling that I needed to finish this next half, like this next training phase and the next second half of the training month. So I'm glad I scheduled that in. But anyway, let's jump into the next day of training. I don't know where it is going to be at. I think it's going to be at CAFÉ BLOC actually, but let's see if that's actually true. So yes, we are indeed climbing at CAFÉ BLOC. And this is actually only the second time I've ever climbed at this gym. And it's a really cool gym. It's downtown, and it is called CAFÉ BLOC for a reason. This gym was constantly smelling delicious throughout this whole session. It's got like a nice sizable restaurant, and they're always just making, fresh food, and it just smells really good. And yeah, the gym is super fun, super hipster, and has got some really good quality boulders, really good quality setting. And you might ask, okay, well, why don't we climb here more often? And this is just the Montreal syndrome, honestly. There are too many epic facilities that I can't train in all of them. And CAFÉ BLOC is just another great gym with good setting. And I especially liked some of the slabs that we got on today. And it's just like, there's so much competition and we just go everywhere. And some gyms kind of just are on our roster less than others. But I have been seeing even just some videos and pictures of CAFÉ BLOC recently, and I said, okay, it looks like there's some good stuff. I want to go climb here. And then the first time that I actually climbed here ever was when we were filming our 10K video, where we went to 10 gyms in one day, and this one fit along our route quite nicely. And so when I came in and had our session for that video, I saw some nice looking climbs in particular, and that made me extra want to climb here. So that is the inspiration with today's session. And then I'll also quickly mention this session that we're having right now is actually our free session. So you may notice that this is the first time in quite a long time that we're not doing campusing as session 1 on day 2. And that's because we are in the second phase of the training program, like I've mentioned. And in phase 1 of the program, we had in phase 1 of the program, every day 2, session 1 was campus. And so basically in phase 2, it alternates half and half from day 1, session 1 being campus or a free session. And we just go back and forth for 2 weeks. And the idea with scheduling in free sessions intentionally on the training program, well, actually, before I talk about that, check this out. I wanted to mess around on this boulder a little bit, and I wanted to see if I could go direct to this hold. That was pretty juggy, and I thought it was actually turned out to be a really epic dyno. I thought I was going to fall on that move, and then my right hand had other plans and just decided to stay on the hold. So that was a fun little dyno variation. Oh, and I also just want to point out this climb too. This was the one that like sealed the deal for wanting to come to CAFÉ BLOC. When I saw this boulder up in the gym, it looked like super, super epic. And it's a very cool volume stack they have here. There's nothing on the other side of this volume. It's just another one of these triangle volumes, turning it into like a pretty decent pinch. And this one was really fun and really creative and a really high quality boulder. And I think this just speaks to the setting in this gym as well. It's really good. And yeah, definitely probably my favorite boulder from the day of training here at CAFÉ BLOC. But anyway, like I was saying, I mean, there's a couple reasons why scheduling free sessions into your training program are good. One, it's really optimizing for fun, and that's a very important aspect of training. Scheduling in free sessions from time to time just keeps the motivation and the psych up and helps you actually grind out an entire training program. A lot of the times we may write a training program for ourselves and think that, okay, I can just go into robot mode and execute this program to a T, and it's all about just trying really hard and, grinding it out. But in reality, we're only human, and we have emotions, and we have mood swings, and highs and lows in terms of our motivation. So it's a very important element of the training to actually factor in our, peaks and valleys in how we're feeling emotionally, and trying to optimize for that in actually the way that you write your training program. And a way that I do that is by, once we do a bit of high volume training and we start tapering down, I schedule in more free sessions, and that just keeps the psych high. I have something to look forward to. If there's something I'm really interested in doing in particular, I can go do that. And it adds like an extra spark of fun into the training. And the idea with this free session is, hey, I want to climb at a new gym that I have not really climbed at before, and just experience something new and fun. Like, the gym is also just really cool to be in. It's like a really cool facility. Like I said, it's very hipster and very artsy. It's just kind of a pleasant building to be in as well. And so it was fun to experience a new facility and get a little change of scenery. And yeah, it's just a very healthy way to train, to program in some fun, program in some free sessions for the mental side of training, which is half the battle. And then also physically, that's like the other element of programming in the free sessions, is that I want to start tapering down the amount of campus training that we're doing and just start turning it into more on-the-wall bouldering. And so naturally with the free sessions, I'm going to want to choose bouldering sessions a lot of the time. We actually still might do some campus sessions on the free sessions. Sometimes I actually am just in the mood to campus. Honestly, I am in the mood a lot of the times to campus because it is fun. Also, wait, let me quickly point out that foot slip right there with the left. I hadn't fallen yet in this session, and I was actually really bummed about that foot slip because we're able to just send the boulder when we hop right back on, and that could have kept our streak of flashes up, but not to be. So yeah, naturally doing more on-the-wall bouldering because of my free sessions is also just optimal for the physical side of the training program. And as we're approaching the competition day, we need to start our tapering, and the higher volume training is slowly starting to taper down into slightly more performance. And we're taking, the grindy part of training that we were doing, the strength and the power stuff, and trying to apply it to the wall more. And so that is the other idea with the free sessions. And anyway, the session is almost wrapping up. And so we're just gonna try a couple slabs now, and let's check out this black boulder. It actually didn't matter too much that I fell on the green one because this black V8 proved to be pretty tricky. And this little foot chip in particular was hard to stand on, and there was not an obvious sequence in this middle part of this boulder. So I took my first, and I think only real fall of the session. So that was pretty fun. Unfortunately, they were setting today at CAFÉ BLOC, and one of the other boulders that Maddie and I actually came to the gym today for was kind of closed off for the setting. It was like right on the end of the sector that they were setting. So it was past the barrier and we couldn't try it, which was quite a shame because it not only did it look like the hardest boulder in the gym probably, but it also looked very cool. It had a bunch of volumes and it looked like a really tricky sequence, but we were not able to get on that one today. And then, yeah, I think we just have one more boulder in this session here, and it's gonna be another nice little slab boulder. I actually really liked this one. We use some of our classic tips and tricks on this one. When we get into this position here, I'm using my thumbs down technique, which is just a classic tip of the day on this channel. It's really great for no-hand slab climbing. I'll also link the thumbs down tip in the. This is a really good one to constantly refer back to. So I'll link the previous video where we talk about the thumbs down on slab in the description here. And then at the end of the session, we still are doing our pinch block. While this is a free session, it's only a free session for the climbing portion of this morning session, but we still have the pinch block to do as a part of this first session. And then immediately following, we're also going to move into our workout, which is a little bit different. I was also mentioning how in the second phase of training, rather than doing the full big workout every single time like we were doing in the first phase of training, we're now going to alternate day 2 by day 2 between doing the full big workout and then a shorter version of that workout. So the first time we have day 2 in the second phase of training, we do the big one, and then the next workout we do the small one, and then the next one we do the big one, and then the next one we do the small one. And this is also just following the logic of the fact that we are tapering. We're tapering down the volume of our workout that we're doing, like how many exercises. As you can see by the snippet of the program, you see how some of the exercises that we did previously are not on the schedule for today. And so we're giving our body a bit less workload and it's able to recover more effectively. And we're also cutting down the reps still a bit. In the first phase of the workout, we were doing all of our reps at 4. And now in the second phase, we're doing all of our reps at 3. And we're also trying to increase the load of every exercise that we're doing. And then when we move into phase 2, I think we're going to cut it down to 2 reps. And then I think the last workout that we do before the event, we're going to do our 1 rep and see just how much strength we've gained by then. And then I'll also point out now, before I forget, so after this day of training, I'm going to have 1 rest day, and then we're actually going to do a bit of a little competition. So I think I've only mentioned this once or twice, but for those who haven't heard, there's a fun local competition that's going to take place soon called Canyon Masters, and that's at a gym called Canyon Escalade, which is another pretty good gym around these parts, but I don't know if I've actually ever climbed there. There's been some lead nationals in the past there, but I don't think I ever participated at them. So I'm not sure if I've actually climbed at Canyon. I know I've been in the gym for a youth national team training camp or something, but I don't think I've actually climbed there. And I have seen some content of the event in the previous year, and it looks like a lot of fun. They have a cool outdoor wall where they do their finals round. So yeah, we'll be participating in that event after tomorrow's rest day. But I'm not actually sure if we're going to be able to get any video of the event, especially because Loy is going to compete in it as well. And I think he might want to get some other sort of footage for finals, unless he's competing in finals, of course. Actually, he has a pretty good shot, I think. I'm not sure who's competing this year, but yeah, no promises for footage, unfortunately. Maybe we'll try to whip out our phones here or there throughout the qualifying, but it can be definitely distracting when you're trying to compete and film at the same time. And then we are finishing our day of training with our home hangboard setup, as we usually do. And for those who haven't heard yet, this is the Clevo doorway. And Maddie and I have a discount code with Clevo if you're interested in the description. I think it's 10% off. But yeah, my finger strength has been really reassuring recently. I've been so consistent about hangboard, and honestly, that's the biggest key to hangboarding is just being consistent about it. And I'm finally at a place now where I've re-strengthened my fingers so much that my injuries are starting to hurt a lot less. In fact, I haven't actually noticed them in maybe a week, and I'm starting to push my weight heavier and heavier. And I think that slowly doing light hangs and being consistent about it is actually a great way to heal like little nagging finger tweaks. Not like big injuries by any means, but by being nice and consistent and going at a slow pace with low weights, I've successfully re-strengthened my fingers and they're no longer hurting, which has been really reassuring. And anyway, now it's time for our tip of the day, I guess, here at the end of the episode, so let's jump into that now. So today's tip of the day, we're going to be talking about what you should focus on when we're doing like side to side, no hands balance overs on slab. And there are a couple things to keep in mind, but the biggest thing is simply to lean as far as you can in the opposite direction that you're going to be transitioning your weight over to, and then land in like a no hands position. So you can see with this image, I'm leaning as far to the left as I possibly can. And there are a couple reasons this is helping me. One, I'm obviously achieving a bit more of a bend in my left leg. And what that does is it helps me get more spring and more push and more power for my leg and actually be able to propel myself over to the right better. Another thing that this does is it also helps us gradually load our right foot and load our weight into a balanced position much more gradual and much more slowly. Whereas if my left leg was straightened out and I was already shifted to the right a bit, it would be a bit more violent of a weight transition over to the right by just trying to hop out of that position. And there would be less time for us to absorb our balance point on our right leg now. And what that does is it just makes a more violent movement, shock loads the system, and thus makes it harder to balance, right? The more gradually we load a position, the more gentle it is, it's going to be easier to balance, especially when it's no hands. So by giving us more time to ride into that position to the right, it gives our body and mind way more time to subconsciously sort of judge its space and judge how it needs to balance itself. And the more time, like this is like a key thing with a lot of moves, especially dynamic moves. The more time you can give your brain to figure something out for you subconsciously, the better. And leaning to the opposite direction and then making more of a gradual transition over is achieving this effect. And then another nice little add-on to the end of this movement that you can do. This one is sort of a personal preference, you could say, but I do think it's helpful. And it could be a tip of the day on its own, but I'll just say it here. I like to make sure that I put my hands on the wall. Like I actually physically place my hands on the wall and I'm touching the wall. And like I kind of almost glide myself in the beginning. Like I don't necessarily slide my hands across the wall, but upon the launch of this move, I kind of have my hands placed in the wall. And then when I I start going for the position, I don't really focus on my hands anymore. But having my hands on the wall to start this transition over, what it does is it sort of helps, again, subconsciously gives my brain more information of the proximity of my like chest and my body, how close it is to the wall. Whereas if my hands were floating in space, I have like the visual, like sort of out of my peripheral, I can see the wall, but the touch is almost a better feeling. Like having my hands placed in the wall sort of tells my mind how close my body is to the wall. And that's important too, because there is a bit of an out and an inwards movement when we load the final position as well. And so just the moral of the story is placing my hands on the wall helps like with the proximity of myself to the wall, and that helps my body subconsciously find a good balance point. And that's a nice add-on you can put on to this move, which is a very common move, by the way. Like these no hands transitions into like balancing on a hold, very, very common slab move, especially in comp climbing. And these are some tips and tricks that you can implement to make these moves a lot more consistent and easier for your body to find a good balance point. Oh man, I almost forgot to record an outro again. I'm not used to the tips of the day being at the end, so I guess this is the outro now. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you in the next one. Insert catchy video outro here.